Thank you all so much for joining Sustainable Tulsa and the B2B Case for Sustainability series and our Bellmon Winners panel today. We appreciate your time with us and helping us celebrate our Bellmon winners and our scorecard members that really excelled this last year. Again, good morning. I'm Corey Williams, Executive Director, Sustainable Tulsa. Welcome today. We will launch a poll really quickly here. And if you don't mind, take a moment to answer those questions while we begin. I'd like to acknowledge our board members here today. Please wave when I call your name. Mike Teague, Rick Kotarski, Sharina Perry, Aaron Larder, Ann Money, and Carrie Rowland. Thank you each for joining this morning with us, and we appreciate you being with us. I also want to thank my staff, the Sustainable Tulsa staff. We have scorecard manager Teresa Kerrigan, office specialist Jill Maud, individual scorecard coordinator Eric Gabula, our interim marketing and events manager, Sherry Robinson, and our fall interns, Sam Bouchke. So give them a round of applause as well. They're an amazing team, and I appreciate all their hard work this year, getting us to this point for the Bellmon Awards in particular. I want to take a moment to acknowledge some of the businesses and sponsors of our B2B Case for Sustainability series, the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality, of course, and the Oklahoma Secretary of Energy and Environment, big supporters of ours, and we appreciate their support. I also want to thank Integrity, One Oak, Spirit Air Systems, and Williams for their support. And you'll see some other sponsors there as well, but we appreciate that. That's how we're able to put this program on for you, and we appreciate their support through the years. We're also, Sustainable Tulsa, our program for our business program, our goal is that we're making the business case for sustainability to show and share where you have the opportunities to grow as a business through the lens of sustainability and the actions of that triple bottom line of people, profit, and planet. And, the first B2B we thought we were really kind of, out on a limb, kind of trying to make that case. And immediately we realized, no, this is easy to do. And there's so many great experts in our own community to be able to help us tell that story and help us move along. And that's part of the scorecard community and the business community that I see time and time again wanting to support each other. So that is our goal, is to create this network as well as the support to help you along on your journey. And Scorecard is our online program. It's our online sustainability tracking and assessment tool for organizations who want to improve their sustainability activities using the triple bottom line strategy. And Scorecard engages organizations around three areas of sustainability: people, profit, and planet. And this holistic approach to sustainability allows our organizations to engage their employees, bolster their economic growth, and become better environmental stewards, which we can do all at the same time. And we're tracking national global business trends. And because of that, just this last year, we added 4 new items, which included the ESG, environmental social governance reporting, D&I, gender equity, and material circularity. It's what we added last year. This year, we moved those diversity, equity, inclusion, and gender, or pay equity rather, forward as part of our cornerstone efforts, as well as we added the working from home and as an item, and kind of tracking the carbon that out of that experience. So anyway, we're continuing to move forward to kind of bring you what is on the forefront of the business community. Sustainable Tulsa also manages several other programs to help with our mission and building that resilient community for generations to come, which includes our First Thursday program and our Oklahoma Green Living pages on our website. So Teresa will be sharing those links in the chat window here in just a few minutes. Our next First Thursday program, and it is free and open to the public, and it will be virtual. It'll be December 2nd, and we'll hear from Julio Bedend. He is the new executive director of the Gathering Place. So we're really excited to hear about his vision for the Gathering Place. If you haven't had a chance to head over there, you should. And if you're not in the Tulsa area, make a point to come over and visit the park this time of year. And it's gorgeous all times of year, but with the fall leaves, it's in particularly beautiful right now. So please come by and check it out. And you'll hear from Julio and hear his vision here next month. If you're a company interested in furthering your sustainability journey, the message, and then message Teresa Kerrigan. She's there in the chat, and she can assist you with joining Scorecard or becoming a member or just learning a little bit more. So reach out to Teresa. She can definitely help you get started or answer any questions you have about Scorecard and what that would entail for your team. Now to kick off the panel portion of our event, I want to give a big thank you to our board member, Mike Teague, for moderating today's panel. For those of you who don't know Mike, I will take a moment to introduce him, but we're just thrilled to have him as part of our board and helping to lead the programs committee. Mike Teague serves as the Vice President of Government Relations for ONEOK. He leads the team in engaging at the federal, tribal, state, and local levels, drawing on his service as a cabinet level of state government, as well as from his 28 years career in the U.S. Army. As Oklahoma's first Secretary of both Energy and the Environment, Mike became highly respected by parties across traditional political and development divides as he led the state's response to the sudden increase of earthquakes. His approach of bringing stakeholders together to solve contentious issues collaboratively has been used successfully with a variety of issues across the state by agencies, nonprofits, and local communities. Prior to his appointment as secretary, Mike accrued a wealth of international and domestic experience in energy and environmental solutions from his nearly 3-decade active duty Army career. Before retiring with the rank of colonel, Mike commanded the Tulsa district of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers from 2010 to 2013, where he facilitated and negotiated numerous solutions among federal and state agencies, Native American tribes, and local stakeholders. Mike holds a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Norwich University, where he serves on the board of fellows, and a master's degree of operation analysis from the Naval Postgraduate School and the National Security and Strategic Studies from the Naval War College. Mike Teague, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Corey. Thanks for the opportunity to be part of another B2B. As Corey said, B2B is about bringing businesses together. We're all continuing to look for ways to be more sustainable at the same time that we're growing our businesses and taking care of our employees. Truly, as Corey already said, people, planet, profit. One of the things I really do enjoy out of the B2Bs and the Scorecard program is watching all the other members grow each year. It's especially impressive to listen to the award winners from the Bellmon Award, and that's what we get to do today. Every year in each one of the categories, I just learned so much from the other companies, and it's really, really helpful for me personally, and I hope for everybody else joining us today. Today we have 5 presentations for you, and then we're going to have a Q&A session. Please send your questions to Teresa Kerrigan through the chat. She kind of helps manage while I'm trying to listen and talk all at the same time and keep the questions flowing. So when we get to the Q&A, please send your questions to her. We know how much we miss being able to network in person. So after the Q&A, we're going to move into virtual breakout sessions. You get a chance to engage the award winners a little bit more. So we're going to get started. Our first winner in the micro organization category is ICF and Christy Shreve. Christy's passionate about sustainability and efficiency, both of which she has the privilege of engaging with her career at ICF. As business operations manager, Christy assists in the implementation of PSO's business rebates program, where she continually works to improve the internal business processes, maintains program budget and electric savings reporting and forecast, and evaluates and verifies commercial and industrial energy efficiency projects and rebate applications. Her expertise has helped PSO reach their energy savings and demand reduction goals each year since she came to work for ICF in 2016. Prior to ICF, Christy spent 10 years at the city of Tulsa, working with businesses on wastewater pollution prevention techniques and regulations. Outside of work, you'll often find Christy in her garden, taking care of her 2 pet ducks, Ruth and Harriet, or currently in COVID times, attached to the couch and streaming movies like all the rest of us are doing. Please enjoy ICF's Bellmon video.
ICF is Sustainable Tulsa's 2021 Bellmon Award winner in the micro business category for achievements toward their triple bottom line: people, profit, planet, through the Scorecard, the region's first sustainability and tracking tool.
ICF's had a long sustainability journey. Our company was founded 50 years ago by a former Tuskegee Airman and 3 Department of Defense analysts as a venture capital firm where they financed minority-owned businesses in Washington, D.C. In 2006, we became the first professional services company to reach carbon neutral, and we have been carbon neutral every year since. To offset our carbon emissions, ICF invests in projects that harness renewable energy. One of the more local projects ICF has invested in is the 66 wind turbines for the Big Smile wind farm just north of Sayre, Oklahoma. These 66 turbines generated enough clean energy to power more than 46,000 homes. This is avoiding conventional power plant emissions equivalent to a little more than 300,000 metric tons of CO2 per year. 3 years ago, we joined the scorecard, and that really gave us a good connection with our corporate sustainability goals as we got more engaged, became more aware, and took on responsibility of some of those goals. And each year, we continue to complete more scorecard items and have also been verified at higher levels every year too, so that this year we've actually completed platinum level. For our Tulsa office's Earth Day activity this year, we joined Sustainable Tulsa along with Up With Trees initiative to plant trees along the Osage Trail in commemoration for the Tulsa Race Massacre. We were able to raise enough money from our local staff as well as receive a matching ICF corporate donation to plant 1 tree. This year being the centennial of the Race Massacre, we thought it was really important to find a sustainable way to recognize the horrific history of Tulsa and commemorate the lives that were lost, with a tree that will continue to grow through the years and provide shade, shelter, and oxygen for our community. You know, we've been working from home since March from 2020, so we've shifted our focus from sustainability actions from what we can do in the office to what can be accomplished at home. And this has enabled our team to micro-focus on our individual homes, families, pocketbooks even, and our local communities. This last year, we reviewed and discussed recycling and composting at home office ergonomics, energy efficiency, and mental health, and making sure that you're taking those nature breaks. So in the words of John Wasson, sustainability means growing our capacity for good. That, covers the whole umbrella of people, profit, planet. Good for everyone, everything. We do that by investing in our people, serving our clients with integrity, minimizing footprint on the planet, supporting our communities, and making a positive impact through our professional services and corporate citizenship. We are very honored to win the Bellmon Award for the microbusiness category. And it means to us that small groups and individuals really can make a big impact. The Bellmon helps us amplify Tulsa's office sustainability achievements internally to ICF as a whole, hopefully inspiring other small offices to get engaged and take responsibility for their own sustainability impacts. Hi, and good morning. That video, I'm so glad it turned out so well. But Christy, a little more about ICF. We are a global consulting firm. We're headquartered in Fairfax, Virginia, with approximately 7,500 employees and 70 plus locations around the world. We do everything from aviation and to transportation and pretty much anything else that you can think of in between. Our tiny little Tulsa office was founded in 2013, and we're the only ICF office in Oklahoma, and we currently have 12 employees at our Tulsa office, and we are the implementers of PSO's energy efficiency rebate programs. Sherry, next slide, please. So to talk about our involvement with Scorecard, some of the main impacts that we've had really has been, engaging our local staff. We do have a very robust corporate citizenship and sustainability engagement. But like I mentioned in the video, we've been carbon neutral since 2016. We are on the Forbes 2021 Best Employers for Diversity list. We won 4 Platinum Marcom Awards for our corporate citizenship. And our intrinsically, our purpose-driven work and advances the UN 17 Sustainable Development Goals. But, being a tiny remote office, you can feel very disconnected from the corporate side of things. But the scorecard has really got us engaged in activities we wouldn't have probably participated in otherwise, gave us accountability, in our engagement and connection to our corporate things, and gave us a role and direction and direct connection to our ICF's corporate big picture. Next slide, please. So some of the challenges we faced this past year, like everyone else in the time of COVID, felt like we were living on our own deserted island. Side note, this is a little picture of the escalating desk decorating a coworker and I did while we took turns being the only one in the office. But back to challenges, it's been really hard to keep everyone engaged when we're all juggling, that work-life balance, anxieties and stresses, and of course, major changes to how we typically operate. So it's been hard to keep those sustainability goals in the forefront of our minds with everything else going on. And then also, we lease our office space, and we just moved to the office in 2019. We've struggled to really develop consistent communication with our property managers, and we struggled to get our utility data, and then, setting up and keeping meetings, obviously through the pandemic, with our property managers to discuss and further other sustainability items was a big struggle for us. And of course, like mentioned in the video, working from home, our office-based sustainability actions were no longer applicable, but it gave us a great opportunity to switch our focus to more home-based sustainability tips, which I do think, spreads the good word just out a little bit farther from our office. Next slide, please. And sorry, Sherry, I know this picture gives you vertigo, but this is our building at 110 West 7th in Tulsa, and it's the Chase / Hillcrest / Airgas / JP Morgan building. And really, this is going to be our goal for 2022, and planning and having direct engagement with our property management to help influence more sustainability and energy efficiency in the building operations. And we plan to, again, share our knowledge and sustainability tips and give support to our other building tenants in becoming more sustainable themselves. So that was just a little snippet about us, and thanks for letting me share with you all, and back to you, Mike.
Thanks, Christy. Sorry, I had to check to make sure I was off mute. So we're going to move to our small business Bellmon Award winner, which is the Schlumberger Kellyville Learning Center. And here to share with us is Diego Fernandez. Diego is a petroleum engineer who graduated from National University of Columbia. He's dedicated his career to work in different geographies and in several energy extraction and development projects in the oil, gas, and geothermal businesses. Recently, he joined Schlumberger's technical instructors team in Kellyville, where he is not only providing guidance in equipment operation and well intervention strategies, but also has implemented a sustainability team to create a positive environmental impact in the facility and in the vision of the younger employees about the energy business. Now enjoy the Schlumberger Bellmon video.
The Schlumberger Kellyville Learning Center is Sustainable Tulsa's 2021 Bellmon Award winner in the small business category for achievements towards their triple bottom line: people, profit, planet, through the scorecard, the region's first sustainability and tracking tool.
Schlumberger has made the corporate commitment to promoting sustainability and is one of the first companies in the energy industry to commit to net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Each location needs to do its part to help us reduce our carbon emissions if we want to reach this goal. The Kellyville Learning Center is the Western Hemisphere training facility for our company. We onboard our new hires and set the tone for the vision of the company. These future leaders look to us as an example of how to operate, so it's vital that we publicly demonstrate our commitment to sustainability.
The equipments you see are units that once performed services in live oil and gas wells. To train our employees with the use of actual equipment that was no longer utilized in our operations, but under less intense conditions. That way, we extended the life of such units and avoid the associated carbon footprint of manufacturing new ones.
There are so many benefits to participating in the scorecard. It has helped us to identify sustainable actions we were already involved in and could capitalize on, and it helped us to understand where we could improve. It provides a great framework for what it means to be a sustainable company.
So we were awarded a grant from the University of Kansas through their milkweed project. With this grant, we dedicated 2 acres to plant this milkweed and to regenerate a natural habitat for the butterflies. We are so excited to be able to bring back the butterflies to this area that we dedicated hours with our employees to plant this milkweed. In our maintenance shop, we have a system that uses waste to energy. So in this system, we utilize our waste oil as a fuel to generate heat. So through this implementation, we have reduced to basically nothing the waste that needs to be reprocessed. We also have made this area independent of any external heat systems.
We also hosted a tree planting to commemorate the centennial of the Tulsa Race Massacre. Through this event, we partnered with our company's Black Organization for Leadership and Diversity Resource Group to educate our population about these events and create a hope for a positive future where people from different backgrounds work together. Schlumberger has always promoted diversity in our hiring, and this event helped to demonstrate our commitment to this.
We in Schlumberger believe in committing to change and setting key corporate goals and targets to achieve them. Part of our stewardship ambition is that by 2025, 25% of our salaried workforce are women, and also to reduce our Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions by 30%. These goals are part of our CEO and global management team objectives and cascade down to the different teams worldwide. Here at the Learning Center, we are no exception. Some of the instructors at the Learning Center are bicycle enthusiasts, and riding from Tulsa area to Kellyville is a fun exercise. So we take advantage that the facility offers showers, lockers, and indoor parking for our precious bicycles, plus the management sponsors us with cycling kits. Thus, cycling as a group to work in the morning and heading back home in the afternoon seems like a pretty balanced and productive day for all of us.
In the last year, the COVID pandemic has had a tremendous impact on how we operated. To keep our students and staff safe, we converted our courses from in-person to virtual. During this time, we utilized this opportunity to continue our commitment to sustainability. Keeping people and planet in mind, the virtual training allowed us to keep our students safe and help reduce 3.7 tons of CO2 generated from traveling. We also worked to optimize our energy usage, considering the reduced staff at our facilities. It is a huge honor to receive the Bellmon Award. We are so proud to have been part of the Tulsa community for over 60 years and are honored to have so many opportunities to give back to the community in which we live and work.
Okay, well, I guess, so thank you very much. And we are very, very honored to receive this award. So I am Diego Fernandez, as you saw in the video. And for those of you that have not heard about Schlumberger, with worldwide energy and equipment supplier for the oil and gas services. And now moving on to our energy services, no longer labeled as oil and gas. So I would say that the main impact that we have here in Oklahoma is the fact that we, as a small location, being part of this huge network worldwide, we would like to contribute and take part of this goal of reducing our carbon emission or being carbon neutral by 2050. So the main thing is not only being capable of setting goals and setting key objectives based on a science-based target, but just taking action on it. So that's the way we wanted to implement the scorecard in the last cycle, just being able to commit and take action on that. So next slide, please. The way we did it, it was very challenging. 2020 has been a real challenge, and then that changed completely the way we operated. So for us, it was key to adapt
and transform the way we do it. In Kellyville, we have a learning center which normally hosts people traveling from anywhere in the world to receive training before they come back to their locations and start doing their normal roles in the oil and gas operation. So shifting that learning and training towards virtual was not only a challenge for us, but also created a positive impact in the way we could reduce our carbon emissions and then reduce the way we will be contributing to our corporate goals. So this also, as we embark in this mission of having a carbon neutral corporation by 2050, give us the perfect platform to onboard these new students and start shifting that idea of having a world being powered by oil and gas, but seeing a world that is being powered by different sources of energy. And planting that seed in those new students is definitely going to set the tone for the future leaders of our organization. We are very proud that during the previous cycle, we were able to save up to 3.6 tons of carbon emissions just by shifting to virtual training. So next slide, please. One of the main challenges that I found, or we found when we started with these sustainable efforts, was challenging the status quo. Schlumberger in Kellyville has been running for over 60 years. So some of the traditions or some of the way we operate have been set there forever. And it's really hard to change the people's mind when there comes to new alternatives or new ways of doing things. I'm fortunate enough that I've been working overseas and in different geographies, and that definitely opens your mind to do things differently. And one of the things we wanted to do is setting up a proper recycling program, which when I joined this learning center 2 years ago, we didn't have a proper one. So there was the myth that because of the location and because of the being far out from Tulsa area, there couldn't be a possibility to have a proper recycling program. And most of our waste was ended in a landfill. So slowly, in building partnerships with other organizations, we shift that and we try to make a program that was not only an initiative, but could be implemented and could be sustainable throughout the years. So that's one of the challenges we had. Next slide, please. On the other hand, not everything has been bad in terms of what the way we have been operated, or hasn't been as sustainable as it could be. There were so many things that we've been doing correctly. The way we managed our rainwater, the way we managed the water we use for our field practices has been amazing. Basically, we were not using any water, or our net emissions were zero in terms of the water we use from the city. That was amazing, and we wanted to capitalize on those actions that have been doing for years, but not fall in that comfort zone. So having or tracking all these key elements, the water and energy consumption, and finding areas of improvement is a continuous challenge. And using the scorecard tool, we found the way to map in our facility the areas that were more intense in terms of energy and water use, and use or implement systems to reduce them and to just keep them at a good level. Next slide, please. So definitely this is how we would like to see, how we like to picture the idea for the new employees, for the students that come to our learning center. We live in a world that is transforming, that is changing the way we would like to use energy in the future. And definitely that's the message that we want to spread out in the different locations. We are just sharing ideas the way we have learned and from other organizations here in the Tulsa area. We want to replicate those ideas so they can set their own sustainable goals and sustainable actions in their own location. So every location do their part to meet that goal of being net zero by 2050. Next slide, please. So definitely one of the things that have been very valuable for Schlumberger throughout our history is the fact that we not only are leaders in terms of technology and oilfield services, but we are also very committed in the areas we live and operate. So being capable to contribute to the Kellyville community, it's something that makes us very proud. We have hosted different volunteering events, and especially during the pandemic, where we not only felt the struggles of working from home, but students have to deal with that pressure of being at home and of having a mentor to help them on their educational goals. It was something that we found that we could help. And we've been hosting different activities to support the local Kellyville community, the local Kellyville school, and we are very proud of it. Next slide, please. So that's something that have not only we have found value to support them, but also is being very rewarding for our employees. Not only contribute with the technical knowledge we have, but also kind of spread it all across the community. And again, this is not a task that we can do on our own. So something that we found very valuable is the fact that we could build relationships with other organizations, and we could learn from the way they have been running their operations in Oklahoma. So building relationships with other organizations such as this name just slipped my mind. Next slide, please. Yeah, with we have set our recycling program. We have set our gardens for monarch butterflies. So this is definitely something that we could see that we can take advantage of our facility, that we could improve the way our environment is being taken care of around Kellyville. And it's definitely a way that we can say that our sustainable efforts will last for many years to come. And as we highlighted in the video, last year was also the centennial of the race massacre here in Tulsa. And we also wanted to take part of it, and we would like to do our own part as well. So Schlumberger, as we said, we are a company that operates worldwide. So we take pride in the diversity in our organization, and we want to commemorate that as well, taking our part doing our tree planting and being capable of highlight that our people is our key asset, our main asset, and diversity is a pillar on that. Next slide, please. So with that, again, we would just like to thank Sustainable Tulsa for acknowledging our efforts last year, and that's a snapshot of what Schlumberger does at the Kellyville Learning Center. So Mike, back to you.
Very good. Thanks, Diego. I love all the smiles in everybody's videos, right? Number one, it's hard enough to get other people to always be on a video, but the fact that you all got them to smile in the middle of the video, impressive. Okay, we're going to go to our medium organization Bellmon winner, and it's D Williamson, and here to share with us is Milana Takas. Intrinsically curious, Milana Takas is passionate about learning and sharing all things beneficial. She grew up on a cattle ranch in Montana where she learned gardening, canning, and conservation at a young age. Currently working with strategic sourcing at TDW, Milana has the exciting opportunity to venture deeper into the world of responsible stewardship through her role as Environment and Sustainability Co-Chair. Now please enjoy the D Williamson video.
D Williamson is Sustainable Tulsa's 2021 Bellmon Award winner in the medium business category for achievements towards their triple bottom line: people, profit, and planet, through the scorecard, the region's first sustainability and tracking tool.
Since 2019, we have increased our focus on sustainability. So we actually incorporated it into one of our pillars. So we have 5 pillars for our community relations, and in 2019, sustainability became one of those pillars. Sustainability to D Williamson means, taking care of our communities that we live in, right? And that can be in several different formats, such as reducing our waste footprint, and then making sure as a global organization that we're engaging our community relations team and giving back to the community and in various programs that help support those communities, from sustainability efforts, such as some projects we've done in India that focus on solar panel electricity for those buildings, to other initiatives throughout the organization.
It's been very exciting, very challenging. There's been a lot of things that we've had to learn and kind of adjust along the way. So some of the things that were very exciting for us is that we incorporated some sustainability challenges last September. And since a lot of our workers were still working remotely, we wanted to do things that they could be doing from home with the family. So we had 4 different challenges, and one was zero waste, one was reducing energy usage, we also had healthy living, and we had improving your life with plants. So these were things that they could enjoy with their families as well, so that helps raise awareness for future generations.
You can't just throw everything away. When a business produces waste, whether it's through machining or through its IT efforts or just through its facility maintenance, you have to transport, dispose of, and store these materials appropriately so that they are not dumped into the environment, that they're handled appropriately by the businesses that do recycling efforts and things like that. So knowing which materials need to be stored, how they have to be stored and transported is very important so people understand. So when you take the batteries out of your calculator, you don't just throw them away. When you clean the solvent from a machine, you can't just pour it down the drain. All of these have to be managed in an important way.
By the end of 2021, TDW Tulsa Manufacturing Plant will have saved over $150,000 due to retrofitting the fluorescent lighting to the more highly efficient LED lights. And that's a savings of about 15 to 20%. We also implemented our TDW Bamboo Club, which is a group that focuses on sustainable clothing, and one of our own senior leaders is actually a founding member. We had installed some of our bee houses in our butterfly garden, and all of these things that we've done over the last few months, we were able to celebrate during World Environment Day, where we acknowledged some of our key participants, and we also handed out prizes. So it was a lot of fun. In all of our TDW locations, we encourage employees to look around and see how they might be able to be better stewards of our resources. And one of those initiatives included trying to reduce the usage of single-use styrofoam cups. So we've implemented some things where they can take their own cups, or we provide TDW cups and mugs for their use. We also have incorporated recycling at each of our locations. And at our TMP location, we've actually started using coffee grounds so that we can add it to our compost. It is an amazing honor to be able to win the Bellmon. It was a huge surprise. We did not expect this at all, but very excited about it.
I mean, to the team, there's people who have put a lot of their personal time into ensuring that TD Williamson is more sustainable. Community relations is a volunteer program. And so those individuals who have led, such as Milana, these sustainability initiatives really receiving the Bellmon Award gives them, the extra motivation to go on and continue doing these excellent activities that they've been doing.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is Milana Takas with TD Williamson, and we're just so excited to be a part of this prestigious group, really. TD Williamson has provided safe and industry-leading solutions for pressurized piping systems worldwide for more than 100 years. Our comprehensive portfolio for onshore and offshore applications includes advanced isolation, integrated pigging, and integrity assessment. And what you're seeing right here on this slide is just a very high level of some of our accomplishments. Because we worked remotely so much of the year, we decided to focus a lot on the individual sustainability initiatives and just try to get it to be a part of our DNA. And in that way, when we look at it from a personal perspective, we can change what we do at work. I think that we could probably all agree that most of the challenges that we faced last year stemmed from the pandemic. Many of us worked remotely for the first time. We worked a long time at home, and it took a toll not only on us, but it took a toll on a lot of the projects that we had planned. So just safety being a priority and just keeping our businesses running. Sustainability initiatives often took a back seat to other business initiatives. So just looking at this real briefly, you'll notice that we tried to make it more fun. Pandemic kind of made things difficult for all of us, so we were trying to gamify many of our initiatives. One of the things that we did was include a team site where we were able to make a community of just everything sustainable. So from that, we were able to create a virtual suggestion box, and there were ideas that were posted by the employees. There were photos that captured our successes, and we shared different kinds of resources. So it just kept that conversation going. We were building communities within communities. Community stewardship has always been a priority to D Williamson, but this year we really had to redefine how to interact with our communities, both internal and external stakeholders. We had to think outside the box creatively to keep the stakeholders engaged. They needed to continue to be motivated because there were so many other things that kept their attention. And incentives are not a one size fit all. So you have to keep that two-way dialogue going, listen and act on that feedback. Otherwise you'll just lose the participation. But what I was so excited about throughout this whole journey was that TDW employees collaborated with other organizations in other industries to really brainstorm about what we might be able to do differently. We needed to be able to figure out how to accomplish virtually what we'd always done in person. I know Annie's on the call, and the word pivot became one of our new favorite standard words in our vocabulary. But I love the fact that we were able to make such an impact despite all of our challenges. We had monthly virtual webinars presented by organizations such as American Waste Control and Global Gardens and Full Sun Composting. And we called it Munch and Learn so that we could have global participation from all of our locations. So no matter what time zone you were in, you could be able to join us and learn. We also, as mentioned in the video, we had sustainability challenges. You'll see here that we had 82 participants in these sustainability challenges. And this allowed workers to participate remotely, but also with their children. And the reason for that is so that we could help promote sustainability in future generations. Next slide, please. D Williamson offers 16 hours of paid volunteer time, so that helps us just get involved and to help those nonprofits and other individuals that need our assistance. Our community relations team had to reimagine ways to still engage with our communities, help our communities. And one of those examples is that we would have projects where we would have the volunteers pick up the materials, assemble them back there at their office or their desk, and then bring them back so that they could be delivered to the nonprofit organizations. Next slide. In many of our sustainability initiatives, it was important for us to kind of identify what were those opportunities. So we would perform impact assessments. And this is at multiple locations. You'll see here our India location. And that was one of the benefits of this whole journey is that even though Sustainable Tulsa is Tulsa oriented, we engaged all of our locations to identify opportunities to improve in sustainability. So through one of these or several of these assessments, we were installing sensor water taps. We repaired water line leaks. We also installed tankless water heaters. So ultimately, collaboratively, it was progress, which we were really happy with. Next slide. TDW uses third-party vendors to help us with recycling and disposing of waste responsibly. We've done that for years and at all of our locations. But this year, what we also wanted to do is we wanted to encourage individuals to stop using single-use items such as paper towels, the plastic cutlery, styrofoam cups, and we had signs posted around the break rooms and different areas to encourage people to bring cloth napkins and their own reusable items. Next. One of the most impactful changes that we had was transitioning to LED lighting. And this was at multiple locations, which resulted in about a 50 to 20% reduction in power usage. Next slide. We conducted a transportation survey that included questions on commuting. And this is a direct result of the scorecard. This is one of the questions. And as you can tell by the chart, 48% of our respondents had a commute of about 11 to 20 miles round trip. And also you'll notice that of those respondents, 94% commuted by their own private vehicle. So just using an average of 15 miles for a round trip commute. And I did want to mention that D Williamson had recently implemented flex time. So we're able to allow workers to work up to 2 days remotely. So if you look at this table, using an average of 15 miles for your commute round trip, the difference between working 3 days per week compared to 5 days per week could save you about $1,000 per year. That was quite an impact. It was worthwhile to us. Next slide. TDW promotes a healthy work environment. And many of you probably know on this call that May is Bike Month, and we had a lot of participation from around the globe. Many of our locations are represented here. And I think that there were several benefits here. One, again, building a community within a community, but we were also getting out, right? The mental health was so important. This was a big part of that. And we were including our families. Some of the bicyclists there you'll see include their children. Again, helping to ensure sustainability initiatives to go into the future. Some of the advantages, like our Salt Lake location and others, have on-site showers, but they also have an on-site bike clinic for people to be able to get bike repairs and just be able to work on it at work, which is a very cool benefit. Next slide, please. One of the scorecard questions was to describe innovative sustainability practices. And D Williamson has spent the last 100 years using technology to help protect the environment. The tool on the left over there is a multiple data set, or an MDS ILI tool. And that is a tool which allows operators a comprehensive view of their line integrity to be able to detect issues. With the Stopple Train plugging system, you can have 2 plugging heads inserted through a single fitting, which reduces the potential leak paths. So TDW products help protect the environment. Next slide, please. And of course, for all of your initiatives, whatever they are, if it's sustainability or others, you need to communicate awareness. To be able to do that, you just have to let everyone know what are the issues and how do you want to address them. And then to promote expectations, you're going to get a lot more buy-in, you're going to get a lot more working on the same page if you promote what we're expecting of you. And of course, you have to celebrate the successes along the way, but also at the end of the scorecard cycle. For us, we celebrated on World Environment Day, and we celebrated in our Monarch Meadow. As you can tell, that's a photo over in our bottom right, where we held the event online and in person, and we released mason bees and welcomed them to their new homes in the Monarch Meadow. And we also handed out prizes to our sustainability participants. So for us, we just plan on continuing to build on this momentum and continuously improve our sustainability processes. Back to you, Mike.
Thanks, Milana. Moving to our large organization, the Bellmon Award winner in that category is Cox. And here to share with us today is Emily Brandenburg. Emily's been with Cox for 15 years. In addition to her role in consumer product marketing, she chairs the employee engagement pillar for the Central Region Cox Conserves Council and co-chairs the Cox Central Region Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Council. Educating employees on driving positive environmental change inspired Emily to join the Cox Conserves Council and support Cox's goals of zero waste to landfill by 2024 and water and carbon neutrality by 2034. Emily loves the Tulsa community and serves on the board of two nonprofits, Mental Health Association Oklahoma and Fostering Connections. In her spare time, she loves outdoor time with her husband, Derek, and a new puppy, Aria, which seems to be the COVID work at home trend, and cannot wait to introduce their son coming in December to the wonders of the outdoors. Emily and her husband have it on their bucket list to visit all the national parks together as a family. Now, please enjoy the Cox Bellmon video.
Cox is Sustainable Tulsa's 2021 Bellmon Award winner in the large business category for achievements towards their triple bottom line: people, profit, planet, through the scorecard, the region's first sustainability and tracking tool.
Driving positive environmental change is at the core of our business and our corporate social responsibility initiatives. We operate our business in ways that we can drive sustainable efforts throughout the community. In our operations, with the things that we do as a company, as the thing we do as employees, and how we support the community and our customers.
Our employee eco-fairs have been a popular new addition to our Cox Conserves education initiatives. We invited community partners to demonstrate to employees how they could practice sustainability in all aspects of their lives, focusing on E, each of us as individuals, C, the communities we serve, and O, our workplace. So now you know what ECO stands for. The first Eco Fair was held in Tulsa. In 2020, like everything, we took it virtual and expanded to 5 more states in our region. We encouraged employee participation and gave prizes like rain barrels, reusable grocery bags and storage, pollinator packages, and more. We helped educate employees and show them what services were available in their community and hopefully help them see how easy it is to start to make a difference. During the 2020 scorecard cycle, we are particularly proud of our field team's focus on vehicle idle time. We continue to provide valid safety topics in team meetings like heat stress and cold preparedness to help educate employees with company vehicles so there would be less need to warm up or cool down those vehicles. Cox Communications will achieve the Cox Conserves zero waste to landfill goal well in advance of our 2024 deadline. In 2020, we exceeded 84% company-wide diversion from landfills through reuse, recycling, and source reduction. In 2021, our senior leadership team has committed to achieving 87% diversion from landfill by funding critical finish line programs that will help us eliminate waste. Our supply chain team has worked with their boundary partners for years to capture all remotes, cords, power supplies, and unused kit items to be reused. The used items are sent back to a vendor for testing and refurbishment so that we can reissue. The unused kit items get sent back to the warehouse for rekitting, saving the cost of the refurbished team touching them. Cardboard boxes are saved and sent back to the main warehouse for redistribution, or are saved for employees who are moving or packing that need boxes. Excess pallets get shipped to the main warehouse, and here in Tulsa, some partly damaged ones have been used for a DIY project by some employees. Scorecard provides a tactical way to approach our triple bottom line goals here in Tulsa. We continue to be able to bring forward projects both on the scorecard and internally generated ideas that have received a lot of support. We're truly humbled to receive this Bellmon Award this year. This is a very important award, and it recognizes all Cox employees for the hard work they do each and every day to build a better future and shines a light on our company's strong commitment to drive positive environmental change.
I'm fortunate to be able to work for Cox Communications because they have such a passion for sustainability. And that really allows me to be me and focus on the things that I really enjoy when it comes to sustainability. And so I'm a huge advocate of the outdoors. I spend a lot of time with my kids, and we're trying to get outdoors every minute that we can. And that's only possible if you've got an environment that has been well preserved, well taken care of, and is dependent upon sustainable activity.
Every Cox employee will take great pride, and we are thrilled to be recognized within the community as a leader in sustainability. It is a validation of our efforts and reminds us all that together we can make a difference. Well, I'd like to start by thanking Sustainable Tulsa for honoring us with the Bellmon Award this year. Congratulations to our fellow recipients, and thank you to my couple of colleagues joining this morning to celebrate all of these wonderful successes in the Tulsa area. Next slide, please. Here at Cox, we're very fortunate to have a robust corporate sustainability program as well as a inclusion, diversity, and equity program that is so strong. Both not only allow us to make larger impacts across our national footprint, but aid us tremendously in accomplishing our scorecard goals. During this presentation, I focus on our environmental activities. However, I do want to note that our people practices also received a tremendous boost in focus and progress over the last couple of years, with our company establishing and aggressively pursuing some impressive standards, but that would be an entirely separate conversation. Although it's varied over the years, as the scorecard questions have evolved, around 20 people are engaged in completing the actual scorecard responses here in Tulsa, which is great, but with an employee base the size of ours, it's certainly not the proportion of folks we'd like to engage. So the focus over the last few years for us has been to really bring thinking about the triple bottom line to our broader Tulsa base of employees in digestible portions. As I mentioned in the video, that brought us to establishing the eco fairs in 2019, allowing employees to interact and with local agencies and to talk about ways they can be more environmentally friendly at home, take care of themselves, and thoughtfully engage in the workplace. In 2020, we shifted to virtual and also shifted from a talk to action-based focus, narrowing in on environmental practices for the year, asking employees to complete activities that ranged from getting outside to canoe or camp or visit a farmer's market to sharing about their recycling, composting, or gardening practices at home, or choosing a discussion to watch about bees or healthy food or plastic bag storage, among some other options. I'll talk a little bit later about how we took this all a step further in 2021. Next slide, please. While our event and activity-based participation has been exciting for us, we've also faced some challenges in having employees fully embrace living out our eco-friendly actions in the workplace. Throughout the pandemic, like many organizations, we needed to manage engagement among two different cohorts of employees. Those who continued to work out of the office, like our warehouse and field operations teams, and those who went to work from home. The last couple of years have been a distracting time for many, and we found ourselves needing to go back to some of the basics. We asked employees to follow through with our established processes and take responsibility for their individual actions, like taking the time to sort their leftover materials to the appropriate bin. We revisited employee and vendor education opportunities, ensured a feedback loop for employees, for example, warehouse staff being able to recognize when bins were being picked up before they were full, and taking that information and adjusting our pickup schedule. As we begin to see what the other side of this situation looks like, and more groups begin returning to the workplace, we wanted to take our learnings from these challenges we worked through and with the folks that stayed in the office and work on a program that would make sustainable practices both fun and educating on the fundamentals of recycling through weekly challenges, prizes, and collection of ideas that would lead us to our net zero status goals as we all return to the workplace. Next slide, please. I mentioned earlier that this year we were taking some of the goodness from the eco fairs to another level, moving from talk to action between 2019 and 2020, and now taking those learnings and experiences, asking employees to apply them to proposing programs that would help Cox reach our sustainability goals. This year, we piloted the Sustainability Innovation Launchpad, which we called Killer Whales, inviting our employee base across the national footprint to submit their ideas for a chance to go to proof of concept supported by Cox Conserves. While I'm not quite ready to give a full readout on the program just yet, we received 40 wonderful innovations this year, and ultimately will go to proof of concept with 3. The finalists presented their concepts to a panel of our own whales, sustainability program leaders from across the organization, making their pitches and answering some occasionally tough Q&A with the whales and helping them aid them in their decision. We're looking forward to sharing episodes of each concept with our employees and leveraging internal comms to help them track the progress of each proof of concept, hopefully sprouting some thoughts of their own as we seek to grow the program in coming years. I'll close saying that, again, we're fortunate to have a hearty corporate sustainability program and a focus on ID&E. It is through our participation in Sustainable Tulsa Scorecard that we have really taken to activating employees outside the traditional groups that would take responsibility for things like benchmarking or energy projects, all in the hopes of extending the breadth and depth of our impact, not only at work, but across employee homes and within their own families. Thank you.
Emily, thanks. And I know I'm going to join everybody else in the chat that just said your eco fair may be the idea that we all steal. And now for our overall Bellmon winner here to share from the Tulsa Zoo. And while I gave everybody else kudos for having smiles in their videos, Rick is going to win for cutest pictures. I can just promise that when Sally shows up here in a minute. Rick is the curator of conservation and scientific advancement at the Tulsa Zoo, where he has worked for 21 years. He manages 14 wildlife conservation programs worldwide in efforts to save endangered and threatened species. He also manages numerous research collaboratives with universities around the country and in Europe, and manages all of the zoo's solid waste and sustainability programs. He currently chairs the Monarch Initiatives at Tulsa and is a steering committee member of the Okies for Monarch State Collaborative. He is part of a collaborative team of organizations working on the return of an urban developed site to a natural prairie called the Crow Creek Meadow. He serves on the board of directors for Sustainable Tulsa and is a scorecard coach. Rick also serves on the board of directors for the Oxley Nature Center and loves to share his knowledge and passion for wildlife conservation and green practices any chance he gets. Please enjoy the Tulsa Zoo's Bellmon video.
The Tulsa Zoo is Sustainable Tulsa's overall 2021 Bellmon Award winner for achievements towards their triple bottom line: people, profit, and planet, through the scorecard, the region's first sustainability and tracking tool.
Sustainability is part of our business, and the pandemic, definitely had us look at everything that we do out here and how could we make sure that the decisions we needed to make last year, when we had lost 60% of our annual revenue, would still allow us to do our business this year. And we made a lot of really fantastic decisions that we've kept, like eliminating our paper maps through zoo grounds that really haven't been missed, and really focusing on QR codes for guests to know where they are. So that's been just one example that we've used sustainability to kind of meet our business goals.
Sustainability journey here at the Tulsa Zoo has been quite an adventure. We started our program officially probably back in 1997, and we did that for many years until we progressed into looking at different streams of recycling and looking at just overall greener practices. We have a pretty robust composting program we implemented about 4 years ago with full sun composting. And so each one of our restaurant service areas, a food vendor operation, has on-site full sun composting containers. We also compost a lot of our leaf litter and other materials, pachyderm poo, so elephant and rhino giraffe waste gets composted to the tune of about 200 to 300 pounds a day.
Things like examining our coffee pots and making sure they turn off overnight so we're not just wasting energy. Same with our computers. We did an overall facility audit through our Earth Friendly Committee that allowed us to make those permanent changes. Moving from any single-use plastics, we put a lot of pressure on our vendors to give us an option that wouldn't be single-use plastic for our water bottles that we sell at the Tulsa Zoo. And they came up with an aluminum bottle that has been a permanent change out here and has been very well received by our guests because you can close it, it stays cooler longer, and it's easy to recycle.
At the Tulsa Zoo, we have green roofs. We have a small little visitor shade area that is a green roof, but then the more substantial one is the Rhino exhibit. And the Rhino building has an immense green roof. It's probably one of the largest in the state. That roof is designed it has a pretty substantial slope that water, when it rains, water collects on that. The plants in all the green material utilize it, and then that water actually rolls off that roof and is collected in a 300-gallon cistern. And then we then turn around and take that water and use it to fill the rhino pools.
So those are just some of the small changes that we continue to make and will continue to invest in, because it's important for us to, again, lead the community in sustainable practices and show people that it might not always be easy, but it's always the right thing. The zoo's at a really important time in our history. We're launching the most ambitious phase of zoo growth with over $57 million of new exhibits. They'll include the new Helmerick Playground that opened last year, but as well as a new elephant preserve that's going to be one of the largest in the entire country, and a 7-acre exhibit and habitat for many of our carnivores in our African area. And so these types of enhancements are so important for us to share our mission with our guests of, connecting and advocating and caring for our animals, wildlife, people, wild places. Just being able to make sure that kids can see an elephant, and that's why they needed to look at not having palm oil in their products that they use at home. That connection is so important for people to want to make a decision to change in their daily life, and that's what these new exhibits are going to allow us to do.
Being the overall Bellmon winner is just amazing. It just helps, again, tell our story. It helps reinforce to our donors, to our board, to the city of Tulsa, to the community that this is a great place to be at. It's a great place to support. It's a great place to come to. And it just helps that momentum, that inertia of people wanting to help, wanting to what can we do for you? How can we help you be better?
Winning the overall Bellmon Award is just such an honor for the zoo to be recognized in this amazing way because of the work we do every day. Again, it just shows our continued commitment to our education mission, our conservation mission, and all the sustainability efforts that we put in, day out. So it's just an honor to be recognized that way and just feel like we're on track to continue to be a world-class organization. The zoo is a wonderful place to work, and whenever you have a place like the zoo, you're going to gather a lot of passionate, like-minded individuals that are super passionate about conservation and sustainability. And so getting it part of our onboarding process has really been seamless, because people not only come to listen about what we've already done, but they come to bring ideas on how we can do it better. And it's just refreshing and energizing to be around these people every single day, because people truly want to make a difference and leave the earth in a better place than it is today for future generations.
Thanks, Mike. And when you first started talking about the cutest picture, it took me a minute. I thought first you were talking about me, and then I realized, oh, he's talking about Sally the rhino. I was like, so yeah, thanks everyone. It's such an honor to be recognized for our processes and things that we try to achieve here. Like Lindsay had mentioned, we try to not just talk the talk, but walk the walk and lead by example. And so, yeah, some of the challenges for us, we've been here since 1927. We're on 80 developed acres, and we're in the business of sustainability and wildlife conservation, but we're also in the business of people coming and seeing us. That's how we are successful in what we do, is by folks visiting us. And people don't realize when you come to the zoo, every time you come to the zoo, a portion of your admission cost goes towards programs like wildlife conservation and sustainability. And so one of the biggest challenges for us that Lindsay had mentioned is that we ended up losing 60% of our revenue going into the new scorecard year, and just the whole year in general in 2020. We normally, like next Friday is like the biggest day of the year, usually for shopping. Well, spring break is the zoo's biggest time of the year. It's usually the time that we either make or break financially. And we were closed for about 3 months, and it started right during spring break. So right off the bat, looking at moving forward, we had to really prioritize and rethink about how we were going to get things accomplished. And with doing that prioritizing, of course,
the animals and what their needs come first, and then staff, and then look at all the other things. And so, with that, we just basically had a new approach to sustainability. We were able to do some projects that were kind of fresh and new, and continuums of some projects that we had been working on. We actually expanded our on-site composting program, and but we had to find ways to basically be more supportive within the community. It was kind of like that old phrase, less is more. So we had less monies, but we had to figure out how we could actually do more, more bang for the buck. And so being more proactive within the community and being a good partner, and working in a collaborative way, and helping others trying to push out their sustainable messages or their sustainable goals. And then within the new scorecard last year, having the DEI component as a cornerstone added was something for us to be challenged with. We had already kind of been looking internally at ourselves, being a business, a nonprofit in the North Tulsa community, and trying to be the best we can be as a business within this community, and be more inviting and more accessible to basically everyone equally in Tulsa. But first looking at ourselves and how we break down and what our priorities were, what basically reflect on who we think we are, and then truly look at who we really were or are. So next slide. Great. So part of the impacts was the DEI. So we were already in the kind of the process before the scorecard program started for 2020, but it just aligned great with that cornerstone, because we developed a new role that focuses more on deliberate, goal-oriented approach to DEI management, and created a director of culture and employee experience, and also took our marketing team and created a vice president of communication and strategy and DEI council, which has been huge. The council is open to anyone here as a staff member to be a part of that process. And even with the pandemic, they were able to either meet remotely on Zoo campus at different computer stations, to actually meet via Zoom. So that's was really beneficial. And then, of course, the zoo, we just continuously worked towards our goal of environmentally neutral operations. That's what we really strive for. We try to balance everything out from what our actions are and what impact it is on the environment, and try to balance that out with something. And so we continued on with our LED lighting upgrades. We upped our game on recycling. We were up to 19 recycling streams. We actually added a new one. I didn't realize how many markers we go through, especially through our educational programs. And so we have partnered up with Crayola to recycle our dry erasers and markers. Some of those challenges with our education program, being closed and not being able to have people come here, we were able to figure out how we could come to you at your homes. And so a lot of our education programs went virtually online. It was right during the spring and then going into the summer for school camps. So we moved our camps to an online component. And so just looking for ways to be better, something as simple as markers. I didn't realize how many markers we went through until we started collecting them. Like, oh my gosh, there's like buckets full of markers. Like Lindsay spoke about, removal of single plastic bottles in our food services has been huge. Reducing just our footprint in general, trying to use more local goods, got rid of the maps, which is great. And then, like I said, upping our composting program. And then really, we just try to continue, like I said, to be good partners in the community. We helped develop a monarch pollinator habitat at the Domestic Violence Intervention Center, which is really just down the streets in the North Tulsa community. It's right down the street from the zoo. The Crow Creek Meadow, which is on Brookside, and then of course Monarchs from the Mountain, which is an annual event. We had our 6th year this year, and it was actually in person at Turkey Mountain. And then of course Okies for Monarchs. Next slide, please. So our goals going into 2022, we're actually going to look and have obtained about $70,000 to do our most ambitious lighting exchange project. We're going to replace 669 units of T12s and T8s fixtures, the inside and outside 5 substantial buildings. And one of the buildings is our vet hospital, which is one of the bigger energy suck buildings on the zoo because of all the continuous life support and instrumentation and other things that are going on there. It's going to allow us to reduce our kilowatts tremendously, reduce our carbon footprint, which is going to be fantastic because that's one thing we've been trying to work for and have been successful in the past 3 years, but this will really help boost that. $15,000 a year savings. It's going to pay for itself in about 5 years, if not less. And then we hope to get this completed by March. And then the Earth Friendly Committee did that audit about what we have on overnight. And so we're going to activate a program where all non-essential PCs and other instruments will be shut down at around 6 o'clock daily to save energy. It's 150 units at about $45 a cost. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot for us as a nonprofit. And also to have all of our staff, not just the council, but everyone go through DEI training through Airheads Consulting and facilitated by Kuma Roberts. And we actually just finished that up. So we went through 5 sessions, 5 weeks of DEI training. We're also creating the first ever mental health committee here at the zoo. It's something that's just come to light through the pandemic, and it's something that's been needed within our industry as a whole. And then one thing that's not on here, I was really excited to talk about, is that we are currently working with INCOG to obtaining a grant that will allow us to convert our train to an electric train. So that's going to be pretty fantastic if that happens. The funding we have 3 trains. The funding will allow us to replace one of those trains and then hopefully continue them over the years to obtain the grant continuously to eventually replace all 3. Next slide. This is just a fun video to end my talk about the baby rhino, Sally, and her newborn. He was just 5 days old there, about 160 pounds. Thanks, Mike.
I told you he was going to win cutest video. And I was talking about you, Rick. I didn't even know about the baby rhino.
I'm pretty sure I heard you say Sally.
Congratulations to all of our winners. Really, and just let's give everyone, all of our winners, a round of applause. Just really appreciate everybody's work and your time today sharing. We are going to move into Q&A. You all have been extremely bashful in sending your questions, and so that means you have to listen to me and my questions as we go through. But please, if you've got questions, send them in the chat. Teresa's monitoring those. We're keeping an eye on them, but please send your questions. I am going to start. There were 2 things that kind of stood out to me through a couple of the presentations. Diego, you talked about challenging the status quo. And then I'm not sure if it was Milana or Emily, but you talked about getting buy-in from employees. So what have been the challenges? Because I see that as both sides, right? You've got to get buy-in from employees, but in order to do that, you also need support from leadership. So what are the pieces that have been challenging in that area for each of you?
Milana, if you want to start first.
Thank you. You know, it does kind of bring up an example. Before I started with D Williamson, I've been with the company for about 5 years, and I had the opportunity to get involved with sustainability. You know, of course, one of the simple things, the low-hanging fruit seemed to be, well, let's replace the single-use containers, you know, specifically styrofoam. And so, you know, you start bringing this up. This is the process, you know, making sure that we speak to all the stakeholders. They get to be able to voice their opinion. And surprisingly enough, I was kind of faced with some pushback saying, we did that, it didn't work. I was like, well, tell me about that. What are you saying? What do you mean about that? And they said, well, came in one day, took all of our styrofoams away and said, use the cup. Well, I think that's so critical that you get the buy-in, that you help people understand what is the impact. Why do you want to do that? What's the purpose for it? And you're not going to get 100% participation, but you're going to at least get that buy-in. People are going to say, okay, well, that makes sense. Okay, well, I can do that. And try to make it as easy as possible and as affordable as possible, because many times when you're trying to replace something convenient or cheap, it's going to be difficult or expensive. So again, you're going to have that level of pushback. It's kind of like, with your children, you want to be able to teach them your philosophies, your ideology, because when they're out on their own and you've just forced them to obey blindly, they're going to do whatever they want to anyway. So what you're trying to do is get it to be adopted as widely as possible.
Yeah, actually, I would have to kind of like, it was a similar case for us. So a couple of things that were challenging was first, setting a recycling program. That was something that, because Calville is so far out from the Tulsa area, the myth or the idea was that we could not have a vendor that could handle our recycling, that we could not do it. So that to me was not something that, I couldn't get my head around that. And the second thing was, again, the single-use styrofoam cups. So I've been working in different areas. And so just basically moving within the same organization and seeing that in other offices and headquarters, every employee have their own cup. So these styrofoam cups, they are a no-no. And here they were just like pouring all over. It was something that it was shock. And more than imposing a new vision, it was just trying to get the people changing habits and give them the understanding of why would you have to use these cups, or why we can just go for a better solution. And that all sounds very good, but you have to put up money value on that. You have to give a value in order to make your project reasonable and to just basically get the management on board with it. So for us, the challenge was not only reduce or just change the styrofoam cups, but just reduce the amount of cups that we will do. And the only way we can do it is just kind of change the habit, just somehow nudging the people to use less cups, especially students. We have a lot of floating population. We have people that used to go to the learning center for just 1 week and then they just move out. So if you try to implement that program, it's very hard when people are not there on a constant basis. So we implemented, first of all, just the changes, and then just try to limit the amount of cups that they were available for everyone. So people somehow were forced to reuse their own cup every time they would like to refill for coffee or for water. So in that way, it was a win-win. We have a more sustainable solution, which is more expensive. But if we reduce the amount of cups that we're going to use at the end of the day, we somehow can balance our cost.
I would say too that it takes time. We started doing actions like that in 2013, and now it's going to be 2022, and we're still not perfect with our operations as far as the cultural shift and the paradigm shift that's been going on here for quite a while now. It takes buy-in from top down and bottom up, and so be patient when you start rolling these things out, and make things as easy as possible and make them inviting. The challenge we have here at the zoo is, boy, that's our bread and butter is conservation and sustainability. That's who we are. And so, coming to work here, it's definitely a shift in culture for folks, because they may come and work from communities that don't even have on-site recycling. And so it was a little bit of struggle at first here, but after about a year or so, I went to the CEO and said, hey, I'd like to open up all of all of our recycling programs here at the zoo through our operations for our staff. And so that really kind of helped bridge that gap, is making it more inviting and making it easier. And then just as the culture has evolved, like I said, it takes time. And so I find now that I'm not the one that walking around looking in trash cans, that other staff members and having a core group of the Earth Friendly Committee to kind of mentor everyone to do that right thing and to participate in that culture, and then onboarding. And so having a strategic plan, you can go to our website and get our conservation strategic plan or our sustainability strategic plan. And to us, those plans are like policies. And then so when you come and get hired on here, we do onboarding, and you sit down with me for an hour, and I just hammer home the message about all the great things that we're trying to achieve here and how we're going to do that as a team. And that everybody, no matter what level and what you participate here at the zoo, you're a conservationist, and it's how we operate here.
Any of the rest of you, I was actually going to come back to that onboarding piece, Rick. Do any of the rest of you have these changes you're trying to make embedded into onboarding? Diego, that may be a little bit hard with the students rolling through, but for the others, do you have this as part of your onboarding for new employees?
I mean, for us, actually, it is hard when you have students for a small period of time. But if we look at the big picture, we are enrolling students in a corporation that have the same goal. And even though the students might just stay in the Kellyville facility for just 1 week or up to 6 weeks, they will just go to their locations and they will be working there for many years. So we are training people for the long term. So when we onboard their students, that initiatives, and we tell them from the very beginning, Schlumberger is committed to these goals, and we would like to reduce our carbon footprint by 2030, and then by 2050 we want to be carbon neutral. We are planting the seed to think in the long term, and the initiatives can change. There are locations in which recycling, it's very straightforward. It's really embedded in their education, but in some others it's just impossible. But being clear about why you're doing things, and from the very beginning setting the tone of these are the rules and this is what we do. And again, something I heard, I think was from Milena, it was just kind of having this two-way communication. You have to be open to receive ideas and kind of like see things the same way that when I came here, I threw out some ideas that were new for them. People might come here and tell us, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you do your handle the waste in these ways so it's better for you? So that continuous improvement is definitely key. And we just have to look at our approaches. We are looking at the big picture. We are just onboarding employees in a worldwide community to achieve a goal by 2030 and by 2050.
And I can say for our little Tulsa office, we don't necessarily incorporate it to our onboarding, but we do, as an office, have a annual review. I mean, that's part of the scorecard as well, is to annually review with our staff all of our sustainability measures and what's expected and where things go and what's recyclable, what's not. So like I said, it's not specific to our onboarding, but we definitely do that training every year.
And if I could just add that for D Williamson, I understood that it was part of the onboarding program. I understand that we have a very robust community relations program that we mentioned to the new hires. But what was so rewarding is just recently, one of our brand new employees just met me for the first time a couple of weeks ago and said that that was part of the biggest reason why he wanted to work with D Williamson, is because of the reputation in that area, and that they definitely covered it in the onboarding. So that was rewarding. That yes, it is being done, and yes, it is being communicated.
And I can say the opposite version of that. That was one of the reasons why I was really looking forward and wanted to work for ICF, is that that was important to me, to work for a company who had good sustainability and documented and, followed through.
So as somebody else who changed jobs in the middle of COVID, I think twice, I say the same thing about ONEOK, right? It was one of the reasons that I absolutely was thrilled to be able to join ONEOK was what the emphasis is around always improving and always getting better. So appreciate that. Milana, this one's for you. You talked about bringing your kids in. So if you're gonna catch your employees at onboarding, I like the idea of even better is, you catch their kids and change their attitudes. If you think about seatbelts in the United States, and we all don't really think about seatbelts anymore, that started when some of us were old enough to be those kids in the back of the station wagon, and the entire program about seatbelts was aimed at kids in schools, right? And so you talked about bringing kids into these programs too. So what are some of the specifics of that? Because I just think that sounds really interesting.
Well, that's exactly what you're thinking about. It's a whole paradigm shift, isn't it? I mean, you have a whole generation now that doesn't even understand what it was like without seatbelts. That's just so ingrained in us. And so that's the intent. If we can do it on an individual basis, if we can do our part as a company to bring that awareness to the employees, and then in turn they can do that to our kids. We had multiple projects that involved families this year because the workers were working remotely. But one of my favorite was Annie. She's on the call today. She actually implemented, it was Be the Inventor, BEE. And this was not only a coloring book, it was to introduce the idea of mason bees, carpenter bees, and their purpose in our environment. And so it was the education portion. I think it was actually developed initially by MIT, but it was the awareness for those children. But then also the program was for them to build their own prototype. And that prototype was judged, and the prizes were awarded again during our World Environment Day. So they got their certificates, they got prizes, they got recognized for their involvement and their innovation. So I think that's really what's going to be key for having success in generations moving forward, the awareness and acknowledging it.
Rick, I would imagine most of your stuff is aimed at the next generation, right? I mean,
oh gosh, yeah. I mean, they're the lifeblood. I mean, that's how we're going to get things really changed. When 8 years ago, working here in this position, it was me trying to seem like it was like me trying to convince everyone that we needed to be more proactive with not only educating staff and new employees, but now and in the past year or so, it's expected. And when new folks come into my office and we sit down for an hour and talk about all the opportunities here as a staff member, what they could do for conservation and for research and for sustainability, I can see it in their eyes. It's more of a confidence than like an aha moment or something. It's more like, yes, I'm so happy that I chose to work here, and it's almost expected. And so for community and education, yeah, I mean, we overload people with information, and especially young adults, on how to be proactive and take action. Like any talk I ever give when there's young adults and children involved, I always want to know how they can help, just always wanting to know. And it's subliminal too. Like here for us, we have a policy that we don't use any insecticide. So every invertebrate that's a pollinator is important, and that includes wasps with bees and everything else. And so we have little signage that are like eye level on purpose that says "Be kind," BEE kind. It's just letting people know that, hey, they're here, they have a purpose. Just let us know if there's a trash can that needs cleaned because there's a spilt soda and it's attracting bees. But we take every opportunity to try to educate and let people know how to be around bees. Don't swat and react and freak out. They're really not there for you. They're there for the sugary drinks. But any of the education, the online program that we did that I mentioned, it's all centered around trying to answer those answers for children about how they can get involved with it. And so doing like those nest box or overwintering boxes for insects, bird boxes, anything that's kind of hands-on that they can really be active about. And, you know, of course, with monarch conservation being so popular over the past 5-6 years, that's been like a no-brainer. So when I was a child, I never would have thought about sitting around and digging in the dirt and planting plants and gardening for bugs. I was more about squashing bugs and playing in the dirt with my Tonka toys and G.I. Joes, you know, and Matchbox cars. So I think we've come a long way for sure as far as kids wanting to be proactive in these types of important things for the environment.
Thanks. I know we're out of time on the Q&A, but the last thing I'll add to this is, you know, it's not just about teaching our kids, but it's each other too. And I loved watching the chat as you all were giving your presentations, and Rick is sharing the website for how to register monarch habitat, and Christy's sharing that PSO has rebate programs for computer management software back for Rick to take notes. So I mean, again, to me, that's the benefit of the B2B program. And the scorecard and the Bellmon Awards is being able to learn from everybody, and particularly from the award winners. So we're going to wrap up the Q&A and move to our virtual breakout rooms here in a second. On behalf of the Sustainable Tulsa Board of Directors, thank you all for joining us at our B2B Case for Sustainability quarterly series, our Bellmon Awards program today. Thank you again to our B2B sponsors, the Oklahoma Secretary of Energy and Environment, the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality, Integrity, Miller Environmental Transfer, Spirit Aerosystems, Williams, and One Oak. We appreciate the time of all of our panelists. Please give our panelists again a warm round of applause. Christy, Diego, Milana, Emily, and Rick. For those of you who would like to stick around and meet with our panelists, we're going to launch into some breakout rooms. Teresa's going to launch those now. You'll see that you can join a room of your choice. So please send a message to Teresa to let her know if you're experiencing any challenges. On Monday, you're going to get an email that has a recording of today's event. So for others that were not available to join us today, please let them know and share that video. And finally, if you're interested in joining a scorecard, please message Teresa. Teresa's going to get a lot of message on this chat, but please message Teresa Kerrigan if you'd like more information on scorecard. And thank you again for attending, and thank you again to all of our sponsors. Eventually, we're going to get to do this in person. I can't wait for that part. So look forward to seeing you at our next B2B in February. Thanks, everybody.